WebEx doesn't seem to work very well on my system. I had the same problem last night. But I can see all you guys and hear you.
Well, then it's working fine, except that we can't see you, which is okay.
Yeah, that's a plus, actually.
All right, guys, you're live. You can start whenever.
Hey, thank you.
Okay, who all's here? I see Andrea, Herb, the mayor.
Connie, Linda Knox is here too.
I'm here.
Linda's online.
Yeah, you can't see her, but she's here, or at least.
Okay, and then I got a note from Sylvia that she couldn't make it.
Oh, okay.
So let's officially start the meeting.
Okay.
And the first item would be the approval of the previous meeting minutes. Linda just sent them out.
Well, I haven't seen them.
I haven't seen him either.
I hadn't either.
Okay.
I mean,
I just had a couple comments on them. She had discussed the problem trees we were talking about having removed. She reported 7 ash trees at Bridgepoint, and I looked at Andrea's note, and it was 5 ash trees, so I asked her to change that. And she had not listed the fact that we had a discussion about the possibility of Zoom meetings with homeowners associations, and I asked her to add that. But we can defer the formal approval till next time. Maybe that's a good idea since nobody else has read them.
yeah, good idea.
Okay. And then next item on the agenda was the mayor's update. The first item was the budget status. I think we all know there hasn't been any change in the budget status. But the next item was breakers at Hunting Green tree programs. And I put that on the list because I thought it might be time to meet with these builders and discuss what they had in mind. I was down Sutherland Farm Road just yesterday, and I see there's actually a house being constructed at the breakers, at least one house. And anyhow, that's my thought. Any comments?
About the house being built?
No, just about meeting with the developers.
Oh,
Now, are you talking about the developer of the breakers or the developer of Hunting Green?
Yes, both.
With both, okay?
Well, Hunting Green, Hunter's Green or Hunting Green.
Right.
I mean, since their frontage, one of their frontages is on Honey Creek Drive, I think it'd be really good. I mean, I know, you know, the LD&D that they hired are a really good firm, but I think it'd be good to see what they, you know, if they're planting trees, they're in the frontage. And then as far as, you know, are they aware of the trees that we prefer, you know? So I think if it could have a meeting with the developer or his representative, I think it would be good to at least find out, you know, what they're considering.
And similarly, I think for the breakers is even further along. The question would be, would it be a WebEx meeting or a Zoom meeting rather than in-person meeting? We could have a larger group if we did it by some kind of electronic arrangement.
Yeah, I don't do in-person meetings.
Say that, John.
I don't do in-person meetings.
Right.
Well, the breakers has to have a landscape plan that was approved by Metro, right? To be proceeding with their development, I would assume. Do you have a copy? Does the city have a copy of that, Mayor?
I don't know.
Uh-huh. I mean, one thing would be to see if we have a copy and maybe we could take a look at it and see what's on it, you know? before we meet with somebody. Just
Well,
an idea.
I can call Stephanie Gillizan and ask her for one.
Okay,
Get-
that'd be I would think that'd be a start, you
I can
know.
get that. The same thing with the Hunting Green. I can call Kevin Young and see what they come up with, what they have for us.
Yeah, that would be great. Then we could,
Yeah, if you could do that, as Andrew said, that'd be a great start to get those plans, and then we can look at them individually, City Hall or whatever, and proceed from that point.
because I've worked with different developers on projects like this, and they, a lot of the times if they haven't started planting or anything, or depending where they are in the bid process with bidding out landscaping, they're willing to make some changes, like if certain trees were high maintenance, or we knew they just didn't do well in our area, or, for some reason, a good reason, it would be better to switch out maybe a cultivar or variety. Sometimes they're willing to do that, and so it's worth looking at it and seeing,
Yeah.
I think.
I'll call both of them and see what I can get for you.
Okay,
Great.
that'd be great.
Thanks, John.
Okay, that's a good progress. The next item is consultant's updates, Andrew's updates on many trees she's identified as having problems. You want to start off on that, Andrea?
Sure.
With, Happy Hollow, you have that list?
Yes, I do.
Right.
Well, the owner's name on the right side of the entrance where you turn off 42 onto Happy Hollow Road, on the right side
Yes.
of that road is Marcia Gillis. I think that was Gillis. Was that right, or Gills?
Yeah, Gil, Patricia
Gills.
we met with, right?
Right, and so Lee and I she got a letter from the city asking her to remove 3 ash trees that were hanging over the street, or hanging towards 42, and have a lot of dead branches or are dead. And so she wanted to meet so we could show her which trees they were for sure, so she understood. And she ended up being very great to deal with, and she hadn't seen the trees we were talking about, because it's kind of on the opposite side of her property from her driveway and so forth. And she was going to be out of town for a little bit the next few weeks, but she said now that she knows where they are, she acted like she would have no problem in removing them or taking care of them. So I thought she was really very, very nice to deal with, didn't you, Lee? I was going to look up her.
Yes, she was.
I was going to look up her name real quick here. Had it here. Tricia Gill is her name. Tricia, for the record. Tricia Gill, Gill. And then, so we met with her. I had marked, discussed this at a previous meeting. I had marked 2 large trees, a sycamore and an ash tree. They're dying back, possibly in the state right away along 42, opposite Prospect Point, just past the Fox Harbor Road entrance, maybe by 100 feet or so. And I have contacted Cindy Markell with the State Department, Highway Department, and she since then has been on vacation. But I had she called me about I talked to her about another tree issue in Prospect today, which I'll get to. So anyway, those 2 trees, I don't have the final answer on whether they're in the state right away, but it looks to me like they've been marked with white paint on the base of the trunks. And I'm thinking they might have marked them. So anyway, I'm trying to follow up with her. I think she's just getting back from vacation like today. So she's been a little hard to get a hold of today. So I don't have the final answer, but I've been also working with her on the elm tree I reported on, the large elm on River Road, near the intersection of 42, like as you approach that traffic light at 42, because it seems we have storms and rains, it has branches. It's a beautiful elm tree, but it has drooping branches that are drooping way low, almost to the ground. And I thought it could use a little bit of limbing up just to raise the lower branches so they're just not hanging so low and blocking stop signs and different things. And so she asked me today, just a little while ago before the meeting, some details about the tree, and asked me to get a measurement of it from the center line on River Road, which I still have to do. So anyway, she's working on that, but I know I think she basically said she's still out of the office, but she was responding to some of the emails. So hopefully by next month, I'll have more to report on that one. But it's good that she's a really good contact. So, John, I don't know if you've ever met her or not. Cindy Markel, when you've been over in there, I know you've been to their offices, I think, haven't you? The highway department. But anyway, the next one on the list on the agenda was the dogwood at Fox Harbor. I think, Lee, you brought that one up originally.
Yes, it seems to be in bad shape.
Yeah, I think it just needs to come out. That median, unfortunately, it didn't do well. And I think it's because the median is so wet. That median, the second median on Fox Harbor Road, as you start going up the hill, it's very wet. You know how much water comes across that median and then across the road and then down into Little Hunting Creek Park when we have real heavy storms. And unfortunately, I think 2018, right after it was planted was exceptionally wet anyway with rain. And so anyway, that tree just needs to be taken out. And I don't know that I'd put another tree back in there because it just tends to hold water right there, which I thought the dogwood would do okay, but it obviously didn't because of that.
And you're saying probably not replace it with any tree.
Well, it's only room enough for like a flowering tree, I think,
Right.
and I don't really know any other flowering trees that are going to tolerate that amount of water.
Right.
Like the wet soils there. So I kind of hesitate to put another tree back in there because I'm afraid it's going to do the same thing.
Hey, Andrea.
Yes.
Gibson here. What side of River Road was that elm tree that you were talking about?
Is
it east or west?
I guess it would be east. If you're approaching the River Road intersection, it's on the left. I think that'd be going east, wouldn't it?
That's east, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, what else is on the list? I had on the list, I just had mentioned to Lee last week, and he put it on the agenda.
Excuse me, can we just go back on the dogwood and have the board vote to have that tree removed?
Sure.
I make a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That's a request to city maintenance to have that dogwood removed. Okay, go ahead, Andrea. Thank you about the other one.
The other thing on the list was I had mentioned to Lee and that they're at City Hall. If you look at the front of City Hall, there's two large honey locusts that are, and a blue spruce tree right in front of the building. The honey locusts are kind of in front of the council room, like, as you would go in the door to the council room, I think they're to the left. And those honey locusts are really thinning. They've declined a lot since last summer. I think those two trees were really hit hard by the drought we had last fall. Remember, we had a really severe drought. And I noticed it last summer, they looked really stressed. So I'd keep a close watch on those because they have large limbs that overhang the roof line. I don't know if you've noticed them, Mayor, or not, but you'll see where they're just getting very thin, not leafed out as well. And so they're declining. So that's something we need to watch because I don't want you to have a limb fall on the building.
Yeah, we've got roofing problems from time to time, and that would concern me if those trees were
Right,
a threat to our roof.
right.
Because
And you know,
when we get roofing problems, then we got water in the library, and my God.
right, right. So we need to keep maybe Ron, we need to just, I think Lee mentioned those to Ron, didn't you, Lee?
Yes, I did. I discussed those and the blue spruce. Ron agreed that all three of those trees were in trouble. You might want to comment about the blue spruce.
The blue spruce, um, that's right in front of the front office there, on the corner, right corner. Has had needle cast, that fungal disease we've been talking about. And I think so that in combination probably with that drought last summer, it's just looks like it's gonna kick the bucket, really. It's really declined this summer. So it really should come out too. It just doesn't look good. You know, it's mostly dead, really. So those three trees were ones we had discussed. I had mentioned to Lee last week, and he put on the agenda for today. And then the other one is,
Before we move on to the next one, maybe we should take a motion to request removal of the blue spruce.
I make a motion. So moved.
I second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so
that might even be one that, I mean, the mayor, you would know whether maybe Ron's department could, if they had, I know they're busy all the time, but if they had some
Yep.
time, maybe they could remove that tree.
Right, they should be able to handle the physical aspects of the blue spruce. It's not that big.
How big is it?
Probably goes up to the gutters, or I mean the first roof line, I don't know, how tall is it, Lee? It's probably, I don't know, 15 feet, well, 12 feet.
That's what I was saying, around 15 feet, and it's not very large in diameter.
Okay.
Anyhow, that would be a maintenance department decision as to how to handle the removal.
Right. And I just want everybody to be aware of the big oak tree in Cali Park that we all love. I sent out some pictures, but you probably haven't had time to see them yet, of some parts of that tree I'm really concerned about. Does everybody know which tree I mean, that's hanging over the sidewalk?
I do.
And I did look at the photos. You know,
Yeah.
if that tree came down, it could hurt a lot of people.
Yes. And that tree, you can, after the meeting, if you have time, maybe you can look at the photos I sent. I sent 6 of them. That tree is leaning, I think, more than it was, and it's leaning towards the street, over the sidewalk, towards the sidewalk and towards the street. And years ago, it had a large lower branch that probably ripped out in a storm. And since then, over the years, where that branch came out, broke out, it's gotten decay in there. And the decay is now a cavity that kind of has a split in it. This is maybe, I don't know, 15 feet up or so from the base. And I think the decay probably extends. If we could look in that cavity, we would probably be able to determine that decay extends way down into the trunk, the main trunk. It also is showing dieback in the top of the tree, and I sent you some pictures that shows a couple of the very large branches or trunks of that tree that have decay in them, where you see the bark is missing, and they have large columns of decay. So in my book, that tree is very structurally unsound, and it's gotten worse since last year. Especially that big cavity I told you about to begin with, and it actually has a split there now that's going down into the lower trunk, and so I really think we should consider taking it out, because I'm worried that wouldn't take much of a storm for it to hit part of it or some of it to hit the street actually there.
Yeah, I have a thought that I've shared previously with Lee. Before we have any more motions to remove any more trees, we might want to defer doing those kinds of things till late in the fall, so that we don't have to spend money between now and then that might create problems for us. We don't have a new budget. Our cash receipts from the real estate taxes are going to come in 2 months late. And so I'm trying to be really careful about what I spend from now until, say, October, November.
Right.
After that, we'll know much better where we are.
Well, I responded to, I know, Mary, you sent an email out to Lee, and Lee sent it to us. I, I, I tell you, the way I see our responsibility is we think it's a dangerous situation. It needs to come out. I mean, right now, if you can hear the thunder, kicking up right now, and the light, so I just, I mean, I hear one thing. I hear, I listen to all the council meetings and everything, and I hear about, how much reserve. And if we're not using reserve and somebody gets hurt, I think the cost to the city could be, all this stuff put down in black and white where attorneys can look and see, look, the city of Prospect created a board. And the board's responsibility is to look at this and hire either a professional arborist or a professional forester to help them. And so if we got some real dangerous trees, I think they need to be taken out, and somehow the city, the city needs to manage how they can pay it rather than have this liability. And the worst thing is to hurt either residents or visitors or residents. So that's all I can say.
The weight on that particular oak tree is, as you can imagine, is tremendous. So it could even lose a branch or a top out of it. A portion of it could fall to the street and still do a lot of damage. So to John's point, though, in my opinion, I mean, there is the list that Lee had circulated, the dead tree list that was on, that was being discussed, that we had to be removed. And I think there were, I think trees next to I think some of those trees can be deferred, like you said, John. But I would hesitate on this oak just because of we have no idea, it could come down. None of us do. I mean, it may not come down, but if it does, it's going to do a lot of damage. And so because it's so unstable with the amount of decay, that really concerns me, because it's structurally unsound. And so it is definitely a hazard. Pardon me?
How long has it been in this state of dangerous decay?
It's gotten worse in the last 12 months. It's gotten a lot worse. And I think it's gotten worse because of the severe drought we had late last summer into the fall. A lot of big trees. It looked stressed during the drought. And it's just large trees have a difficult time with some of these weather swings we have, particularly with extended drought periods. So it's had issues, but they've definitely gotten worse. And I think that's because of the drought.
Several years ago, we had parts of it cut down or limbs taken out. That was probably at least 5 years ago.
But to give a little more background, we authorized the master plan of Cali Park. And actually, I met Andrea and the landscape designer there at the site. And Andrea, who I trust with her professionalism all the way. Nobody wants to keep trees any more than I think Andrea does, and she just pointed out no problems. And from what I just observed, I live in the neighborhood very close to there. And when I hear how much more decline, and today I rode down there, and I bet you I saw 15 walkers on Westover.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the
And
time.
so one of those happens to be the prettiest lady in Prospect, my wife. So it's
Is she in the room, Herb?
no, but I'll tape it.
Well, this is being recorded, so you can just get a copy and play it for her.
Yeah. On that master plan, we knew it was, it was a senior citizen. In fact, the master plan has a heritage oak proposed if we can ever get the funds, right near it to replace it. And so I don't know. I mean, when our arborist, when our tells us we think it needs to go, I think we better make the motion for it to go. And I don't know, the city will take care of it when they can afford it, I guess.
Herb, could
Any
you make
idea how
that
much we're
motion?
talking about?
What's that?
That's Don Gibson. How much are we talking about? We're talking about taking the whole tree down, a section of the tree, and how much are we talking about?
Well, I don't
That's
know. We haven't gotten estimates on it yet, so,
but
No,
Andrea,
Andrew,
is there a partial removal? Or is that a fix? Would that help? A partial removal?
No, you either ought to take it down or I guess you'll have to live with the consequences if parts of it come down.
Andrea, could just a 90% ballpark estimate of what it would cost to take it down?
I don't know. It's probably going to be 2,500 or something like that. I don't know. Might be 2,000. It might be 1,800. There's such variance in the tree removal prices. We would just have to get an estimate and let you know.
I understand.
But I think, Don, just so I know you, because you want numbers, and I think it's not a $500 deal. I've had a $500 deal.
No, it's a big tree.
It's up that 2,000, 2,500 category, I'd say.
Okay. We're having another budget meeting, the council next Monday at 2:00, and I'll take that concern forward.
Thank you.
That's good.
Thank you.
I had two issues on the oak. First of all, Herb, could you make a motion to have the oak at Collie removed?
Yes, so moved.
And somebody second it?
Second
Connie,
it.
maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, and all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We can't hear
Aye.
Linda, but I hope Linda's hearing us.
I'm here. I said aye.
Oh, that's great. Okay. That's very good, Linda. Very good. Okay. That's good. So that motion has passed, and that'll have to be worked out by the city. But on these costs, if the city is short of cash, why don't they go over to the bank and borrow a little bit of money? It wouldn't cost very much. Interest rates are so low. And if we have maybe a lot of money tied up in CDs, they could just use a CD as a secured asset, and the short-term borrowing cost for 5 months or something would be minimal.
It doesn't work like that, Herb. Doesn't work like that. The city council controls the purse strings, and until the city council says take money out of the reserves or whatever it does, I mean, I can't do it.
We understand that. Yeah, we've been in Prospect long enough. We understand.
Well, good.
Okay. Andrea, can you comment on the 4 trees in Fox Harbor? I sent out a supplementary list.
Sure. I don't know if anybody's had time to look at those yet, but Lee sent a list out that I noticed. 6,000 Fox Harbor Court, in the front yard of that home, there's about an 18-inch diameter sugar maple that's been standing dead for a long time. And it looks like it's going to fall down at any time. It's definitely a hazard. The trunk is completely decayed. It needs to come down. So I wanted to make you aware of that. We might want to send them a letter. 6100 Fox Hunt Court in Fox Harbor. There's another front yard. Now these trees are close enough to the street they could fall towards, fall up. Part of the trees can fall on the street. So that's why I'm bringing them up. They're hazards. So 6100 Fox Hunt Court has an 18 to 20 inch caliper dead pin oak that also has been dead. Appears to be have been dead for quite a while. So trees get more and more brittle as that wood sits there and just decays. So that one is a hazard. I also noticed at 7204 Fox Harbor Road, there's closer to the street, Fox Harbor Road. I mean, within the right of way, probably. I mean, probably within, I don't know, 8 or 10 feet. There's a 17-inch caliper ash tree that's leaning towards the street, pretty good lean, and it's got a bunch of dead branches that are overhanging the street. I don't always mention dead branches in trees, but ash trees are notorious for becoming very brittle. The wood's very brittle as it dies, because as it's dead, and so I would suggest that we try to have those people prune just the dead branches over the street, because it doesn't take much of a branch to go through somebody's windshield or come down the storm and hurt somebody.
Yep.
Lee mentioned also to me, and I think you sent this one out, Lee. I think I determined the address was 7249 Fox Harbor Road.
Yeah, that's a reasonable address. I'm not sure which property has that tree, but you can call on it anyhow. We can sort the address out later.
All right. It's a large American beech tree. Unfortunately, it's declining. I don't think it's totally dead yet. Lee was concerned about it and wondering if we should take it up as an item to write them a letter about. But I think we should watch that tree. It still has some life to it. I think it's probably going to go ahead and die all the way, but and then maybe give, since it's not totally dead, let's just kind of keep an eye on it. And I like to give people enough time to do the right thing on their own, which is, if they have a dead tree, that hopefully they'll get it taken care of. But so I'd hold off on that one if it was me. If it was that would be my recommendation for right now. But let's just keep monitoring it. And so the address I saw on the front door of the house closest to it is 7249. So I guess, Lee, you can sort out which address it is. For sure.
That tree could be on that property or on the one next to it, which is basically an unoccupied house, a low-lying house. Nobody's been living in it for years. Somebody does cut the grass.
Are you talking about the house to the left of that tree? If you're facing that tree,
if we're facing it, if we're facing the tree, that house would be on the right.
Oh, on the right. Okay.
Yeah, on the right, and it's a low-lying house. Nobody lives there, as I said. There's a little bit of actually decay on the cornice above a window there over the front door. I think anybody who travels in Fox Harbor would recognize that house right away. And as I say, I don't know to which property the beach belongs to, but we'll monitor it, and I'll try to sort that out with Ron on it, or Mike Lesh as where that tree is property-wise. Okay, but then maybe we should on the other three trees. Make a motion to the effect that a letter should be sent to the property owners asking them to remove those troubled trees or trim back the branches on the one tree.
What do you say, Connie?
Okay, I make a motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. The next item actually is one we already partially discussed, and that was the tree removal list, which existed prior to this meeting. All of those trees are on city property. That would be item 4 on the agenda, and the mayor spoke about the city's problem with cash flow. However, there are at least 2 locations where Andrea's noted that a hazard may be imminent. One is the ash trees at the exit of Bridgepoint Boulevard area, and the second one is the willow at the intersection of Fox Harbor Road and the creek, and where the bridge is. That willow is fairly close to Fox Harbor Road. Any comments on those?
Well, and that willow is dropping a lot of branches. Like every time
Okay.
we have some wind or a storm, you see branches that it's dropping.
Why are we responsible for those trees and not Bridgepoint? Shouldn't they be responsible for taking those trees out?
Well, the tree in along Fox Harbor Road is in Little Hunting Creek Park. It's clearly a city tree, and the Bridgepoint ashes, I believe, are also on city property.
Really?
The city mows that area around them, so.
But it was just down the hill. Remember that we made Bridgepoint take those
Right.
trees out.
Right. I think that's a different scenario there.
Is this out near the intersection with 42?
The ash trees you talking about?
The one you're talking about, yeah.
There's 5 ash trees that line the exit side of Bridgepoint Boulevard in front of the long straight portion, I'll call it, of the stone wall that attaches to the entrance wall.
Yeah.
So they're in front of the stone wall as you go down the exit side of Bridgepoint Boulevard towards 42, between the wall and the street, the edge of the street.
Well, do we need to get Ron to verify that, what he normally does?
I think he looked at them already, and
He already did that. In fact,
right.
he got bids. He had a meeting just a few days ago with tree service people, getting bids on the whole laundry list of the trees we'd published earlier. So I think Ron does agree that
right.
there's a city of trees.
Right.
Yeah, he wouldn't be doing that if they weren't city trees then.
Right, exactly, right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and these are all, I think we've already approved the things on the list, but I guess the point is with what Don said, if we really support that these dangerous trees get a high priority of getting removed, and if Don would be so kind to inform, the council on that. I don't. If Ron, of course, I know Don wants to know what kind of price probably we're talking about.
Well, Ron may have those prices now.
He does, actually. The mayor was quoting those prices to me on the phone a day or so ago.
Okay.
Well, since can we make Don aware of what that cost would be, so he at least would have that information?
I easily do that. I don't have them right here in front of me because I'm not at the office, but I have those, and anybody that wants to hear about them, Don or anybody else, I've got it available.
Great.
Okay, I mentioned that last night in my report to council also, those particular trees.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So we're talking about the 5 ash trees on the exit side. We're talking about taking them down.
Yes.
And so just again, I just need a ballpark number, and I'll take it next Monday.
I think Ron has
when I'm
that
back at my
number.
office, I can give you the exact number.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Okay. Anything on tree removals?
I don't have anything else.
Okay, the next item I had on the list was the limb survey. The mayor asked that we do a drive along Hunting Creek Drive and also in Innisbrook to identify any limbs that need cut back. I did that. Andrew also did that, and I put a note out that those seem to be or could be handled not under forestation, but under the nuisance ordinance, which requires a certain clearance. It's just a physical measurement of how high the limbs are over the street. There's no need actually for an arborist or the board to act. They can be done under code enforcement for the nuisance ordinance.
Well, you're talking about the trees in Innisbrook, though, I think, aren't you?
Well,
Maybe
I'm talking,
primarily
actually, I'm talking more along the ones along Hunting Creek Drive. There's bushes and trees with limbs sticking out there. In Innisbrook, I personally did not see any that seemed to be worth dealing with, but there may be another judgment.
Well, the ones up back to Hunting Creek Drive, the city owns some of the trees, and they're right around. I don't know if these are the ones you were referring to. I think, John, you've referred to these before that are up on Hunting Creek Drive on either side. Like if you come up Hunting Creek Drive past the golf course and you wanted to turn left into Scenic Hill there off of Hunting Creek Drive, they're kind of on either end of that median there, those medians on Hunting Creek Drive. There's some there's some maples and some other shade trees that kind of have low branches right there that should be lifted up a little bit. And I mentioned those to Ron after our last meeting, or somehow that's come up recently by email, and he said he would go look at them. So those are some of the ones I think you mentioned in the past
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
So I haven't heard back from Ron since he said he would look at them. So I offered to meet him on site and look at them with him, but I haven't heard anything back. So.
Well, I may be seeing him after this meeting, so I'll talk to him.
Okay.
But as far as
Okay.
making people who have, the responsibility to correct an overhanging tree, until last night, I didn't have any ability to cite anybody
Right.
because we didn't have a code enforcement board. And it appears that we now have one for 3 months. Now, I can cite somebody for a violation of an ordinance, but if they don't want to follow through, the code enforcement board can't meet pursuant to the governor's orders. So that gets kicked down. That can get kicked down the road. It sounds complicated, but it's fairly simple. So I can have Mike talk to him, and usually that works. Failing that, I can cite them. If they don't want to obey the citation or want to go to the code enforcement board, the code enforcement board cannot meet. So, you're just kind of going in a circle like that. But as I say, usually people, if we approach about a violation, they take care of it.
Yeah, their cost would be relatively small to have those trimmed, and I doubt that to be appealing to the code enforcement board. Okay. So we'll leave that in the good hands of city administration. The next item was the
you're
Arbor
very
Fest.
kind.
I'm back. Okay. The next item is the Arbor Fest, and also related to that, Connie was getting and did get a bid for getting signs that would publicize the Arbor Fest. Regarding ArborFest, it's normally a condition of the Tree City certification that we conduct a public event regarding or with respect to trees. However, I contacted the Kentucky Division of Forestry and was told that Arbor Day Foundation has waived that requirement for this year because of the pandemic.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
So if we don't want to have an Arbor Fest this year, we don't need to from a Tree City certification standpoint.
You know, is it real negative if we reschedule it to the spring? Is that a
Well,
bad idea?
That would be next year's event in any case. The Arbor Day Foundation operates on a calendar year basis.
Yeah, but you don't have, because you don't have to have it for the recertification. Maybe
Right.
I think Herb's idea might be a good one, if depending on what could be arranged in the spring. Most of the, you could do it near, around actually the Arbor Day date.
Yes, that's when the Arbor Day Foundation actually
Right.
prefers that
Right.
it be held.
Exactly. Yep. That's true. A lot of cities do it in the spring for that reason. Because Arbor Day, I'm sorry?
Hey, what do you think?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
I think we ought to put it off. I'm not even sure we can have it in the spring, the way the coronavirus is going.
Well, I'm sorry I asked you then. How about
I'm afraid I agree
Hey,
with
we'll have to
Connie. I
wait
don't
and
think we
see.
know enough yet to make a promise.
well,
Right.
Something in the spring.
well, we can always change it come spring, but spring's a long time away. Listen, I'd like to make a motion that we do reschedule it to spring. I mean, this is a tradition that the forestation, the city prospects had, so I'd hate to just, you know, completely not think about having it. So, and apparently, if spring's the preferred time, really, or Arbor Day Foundation likes it, so I'm gonna make a motion. We just reschedule to the spring of 2021.
Any second to that motion or any discussion?
Well, there's no second, so it fails.
Yeah.
I
Just-
would vote against it. The last
Okay.
time we had a pandemic like this was 100 years ago, and it lasted for 2 years. And might have been Linda said, let's wait and see, and I think that's wise.
I'm going to tell Art Blair that we're still interested in the signs, but just going to have to hold him off, right? He's really nice to work with.
I don't guess we need to even have a motion to say not to have it in the fall. We just don't have it.
In the spring.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right now,
We don't have to, right. We don't have to have it from a Tree City certification, and it would be up to the board and really the city whether or not to hold the event this October the way it's presently on the schedule.
well, the city's sure not going to do it unless we recommend it.
Right.
Actually, we don't have the money.
Oh, come on, let's don't go into that. Money was allocated. We're on last year's budget. And there's money. That's the way legally how this city's supposed to work. And last year's budget had money in ArborFest, so don't say we can't say that. But I'm all for public health if it's and what I hear, the board doesn't want to do it. So I just like to know. I don't want to, if we're not going to do it,
we can reconsider it in February or March. We have things are going, and decide to have it in April or May.
Okay, great idea.
Yeah. I don't
Connie,
think
could you,
anybody wants Arborfest to go away. We just want to be sure it's a safe time.
Right. That's true.
Good. Yeah.
Connie, you went out and got those cost estimates. Could you share those with the other people present? Hello, Connie?
What?
I think she stepped up.
She stepped
away
up.
from the
I had to get something at the door. Tell me again what you want.
Just to inform the board and Dawn and the mayor the cost estimate for the signs.
Well, I don't have the entire estimate because he only estimated the banner, and it was $250 some for just the banner. So I think we're going to have to. And we were going to get name tags, make name tags for us, and we were going to have
Yes.
a sign out in front of the city hall. And so I guess the price could change next year.
Okay. So the estimate you got was for the banner?
The banner and I think the sign too out front.
Okay. Okay. So it's in the ballpark of $300.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. So we'll just put a hold on that, and we'll look at the Arborfest situation in February or March.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay. Okay. If nothing else on Arborfest, the next item I have is Sutherland Farm Road trenching. There's a very large amount of work going on along Sutherland Farm Road, entrance side, for some hundreds of yards. There's been digging and maybe a pipe was being laid. I reported the contractors to the mayor yesterday. That's AWP and Team Official. The reason I brought it up is that there's a clear requirement in the forestation ordinance that any such trenching has to be approved in writing by the Forestation Board before such work begins. So we have a situation where the ordinance has been violated, and the question is what to do about it.
Who's doing it?
Oh, it's got to be the
AWP and Official.
breakers. It's got to be the breakers. And you know how easy she is to work with.
Well, you better confirm it's the breakers. You know, sometimes people, you know, they run fiber optics and things in existing neighborhoods. So,
Right. It wasn't clear to me what was being laid. It's obvious there's a large amount of trenching. It's probably going on today if anyone take a drive down there.
There's been a lot of trenching and a lot of root damage to trees in some of those areas. Not the whole length of it, but definitely some damage. And, you know, they trench right through a new planting that was done a couple years ago, about halfway down on the exit side too. Did you see that, Lee, where they went through some green giant arborvitae and right next to a red.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could even argue that there's multiple violations
Right.
of the ordinance, and under the ordinance, they could be fined $750 per violation, plus the cost of replacing any damaged trees, which would be somewhat nebulous along the entrance side. It could be many trees were damaged, but it's hard to tell.
That's,
Yeah.
There's our money.
So I'm asking that the mayor or Ron investigate AWP and Official, find out who they're working for, and then advise us as to how to proceed.
Okay.
I make a motion that we investigate that.
Yeah, I think that would be an important thing because
Herb,
It's a
John.
shame.
I'll
Damn
second it.
done.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Motion is passed. Next item on agenda list is the report on Woods of the Bluegrass, attended by one Herb.
Well, since we've been at this meeting 59 minutes, and the presentation I created is 97 minutes, I think we ought to hold it. It was very interesting. The best thing I can say about it, I will, when we have not so many things on the docket, because this is about, I will tell you, the first recorded tree was like a chickapee oak was 16, So, and there are more than 80,000 species of trees. Now, Andrea knows all that stuff, but let me just defer the report. But where I heard, what I will mention, my big mouth, we have a real asset in our community. If you've not been up to the Waterfront Botanical Gardens, that's where I heard this lecture at a big whopping $10 cost. And it's now back to full schedule. They're not open Monday or Tuesday, but all the other days, they open at 10, close at 4, except Thursdays, and they close at 7. So how about, Lee, is that okay if I defer the report?
Absolutely. If there's nothing else on that item, I want to bring up an item that's not on the agenda, and that is Sylvia's confirmation, which was scheduled to occur at last night's council meeting, and it didn't happen. Randy questioned how many meetings Sylvia had attended, and by this conversation, I'm asking Linda to go through the minutes for the last 12 months and just report by month whether Sylvia was present or not. And I think we'll find that she was there almost all the time. I tried to communicate to council last night during that discussion, but for some reason they couldn't seem to hear me. So I ended up being a little bit frustrated, as you will note from some of the email I sent out. I told the council my communication problems, and I would have supported Sylvia had it been possible. So we'd like to see Sylvia confirm that next possible meeting that council has.
Lee, I want to add something.
Yes, sir.
I know that's one thing to count. I heard it yesterday at the council meeting how they want diversity and they want, different people involved in the different, they didn't say boards, they were talking about another kind of volunteer activity. But, we've been wanting to have a resident of Bridgepoint, and I think that's been a real want, and we were fortunate Sylvia wanted to be on the board. And
absolutely.
And so we got a neighborhood that had not been involved. That neighborhood has a lot of trees that we have to, that are issues. So I don't know. And we do happen to know Andrea has a full-time demanding job and has, I believe, 3 children. And so I don't think it's so many the quantity of the meetings. I think it's the quality she's brought to the meetings. That I feel that she's really helped us on Bridgepoint and the understanding with the homeowner association. So I really think what needs to be said to the council people is the value she brings. I don't know if we got to get into being counting,
Herb,
Yes.
I was sitting there and we could not hear, we couldn't hear a thing that Lee said about that topic.
Yeah,
we had been able to hear Lee's point. I think that we could have moved forward, but we couldn't hear a thing he said.
Yeah, Don, I was there listening and trying to scream into my monitor about she's good. Oh, yeah, I agree with you, Don. It's a shame. I knew Lee was on there, but and had a feeling that it was a technology problem.
It
So
was. The other thing you talked about in terms of diversity wasn't one of those at all. That was in discussions about the code enforcement board. That wasn't about Sylvia at all.
but the point I
The
was
issue
making,
there was technology. Couldn't hear.
yeah, but the point I was making was diversity, and it's not just uh, our descendancy and all that. It's our locations too, the different neighborhoods. So that's all I need.
Yeah, I would agree with
Anything at
Herb.
this meeting.
He has been a major help in a neighborhood we've wanted to involve for many years. And the fact that she's also active on their homeowners association, she's kind of doing double duty for us.
And she's a lawyer.
Yeah, that too.
That's
You won't
right.
bet against her.
So let us ask the mayor to put on the next council agenda, whenever that is, the confirmation for Sylvia.
Do you need a motion for that?
I
I
don't
don't think it
think.
would hurt.
I make a motion that it's on the next agenda. Herb?
Yes, second.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, good.
Hey, Lee, I do have one more new item. I know this meeting's dragging.
Yes, sir. No, go ahead.
Ask Connie to show the drawing she did while this meeting's going on.
No.
Okay,
She's not doing it.
I'm not doing it. But
okay.
thank you for asking.
The last item on the agenda is the next meeting date. Normally, we would meet the second Tuesday of the month, which would be the 8th of September. That immediately follows Labor Day. Maybe some people will be
I
out of
can't.
town.
Yeah, I can't meet that day.
Right. So let's pick another day.
How about the 15th?
It's okay with me. Connie, Linda,
Yes,
With
yes.
me.
and Andrea works for you, the 15th?
Yes, you're gonna say 2:00 or what?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, sure.
No, don't say something. Let's write it down. How about 3:00? That's when we normally were meeting.
It's okay with me. Does it work for everyone else?
3:00 on the 15th.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Linda, for you, yes?
Yes.
Okay. So let's plan on it. Unless there's any further items to be brought up, we need a motion to adjourn.
Don't move.
Second.
I do thank
All in
Don
favor?
for. Aye.
I
Aye.
And Don,
Aye. Okay.
I do thank
Thank you
Don
all.
for attending our meeting. Thank you, Don.
Yes.
If y'all
We appreciate
include me in your group, I'll attend the next meeting.
That'd be great, Don.
Yes.
all right.
Yeah.
That's great.
15th to 3:00.
I got that, but I had to call Ron to get signed on.
Okay. Yeah, and I
He's
need to
very
work with Ron
selective.
because I'm really having trouble with this WebEx. As I mentioned in my email, the same systems, we have two systems. They both work perfectly with Zoom, and they don't work well at all with WebEx. So maybe he can help me out. I'm going to try anyhow.
Can you do it on your phone?
Well, I'm doing it. The voice you hear is on my phone, and I
Oh.
can see your picture right now, Connie, sitting in front of that big bookcase. So I can see, but you guys can't see me, which is not a big problem. But I'm speaking over the telephone rather than through the computer system.
Okay.
Well, it's really clear. Very
Yes,
clear.
it
That's good.
It is.
All right. So we'll try that again. And thanks to all.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank
All
you.
right. Thank you.
Have a good
Bye.
afternoon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.